Testing, testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. You are listening to the smooth sounds of jazz.
Oh, my Lord.
They can't give me no podcast. Because I'll be on here talking about you're listening to the sounds.
Oh, God, help me.
Of smooth jazz.
Don't do that.
98.5. The Heat.
Hey, everybody. How you doing? And welcome to the Focus on Greatness podcast. I am your host, as always, here to be able to give unto you another inspirational message that I believe will be able to help you to focus on the greatness that's within you. Today is a special day. For all those that are a part of the Greatness family, you know and understand that we come on every first and third Monday at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. But today is a special occasion. And so I want you to join in on this conversation. So before we even get started, make sure that you share. Make sure you give me some thumbs up. Make sure you share, give me some love with some hearts. Make sure that you are sharing this with your family. Start a watch party for those that are going to be listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, however platform that you listen to. Make sure that you are sharing this as well, because this conversation is a conversation that you don't want to miss. My beautiful wife is on. Please, honey, can you do me a favor? Introduce yourself.
But before I introduce myself to the people, we just kind of have to, get all the formalities out of the way. Okay. Now that we've gotten all the it's just kind of formal. First of all, let me say this. It's been 3 seasons. And I am just now getting an invitation to the podcast. 3 seasons in. Like, I thought I was going to have to kick the door down in a minute. Okay?
Well, the wonderful thing is you're here. So I think that's the most important piece at the end of the day, is that you're here.
Okay, but I'm going to need you to loosen up a little bit. It's very formal. It's very podcast-like.
This is a podcast, just for the sake of saying.
But this is a special podcast.
It is. It's a
let's just keep it. Let's just keep it cool. Let's just keep it casual.
Well,
let's just keep it light.
In our being cool and in our being light, can you please tell the people about yourself?
Yes. Okay. So for those of you who don't know, which is probably a small amount of you, I am Hiram's wife, and I have brought my audience with me. I know usually you go live. You go live on the podcast, but I wanted to do things a little bit different because, this is a special time. This is a special podcast. We're airing it on a special day. So I decided to do something that I enjoy, which is video. I have a YouTube channel. I'll leave all the information in the description box. But yeah, I have welcomed my audience and merged it with your audience so we could just be one big happy family. Let's chat.
Let's chat, hon.
Let's chat a bit.
There's a lot going on.
Oh my gosh. Listen, 2020. If one more person says, listen, 2020, I just might vomit. Everybody says, listen, 2020. That in and of itself is a mouthful. Just saying, listen. I mean, everybody kind of knows what you mean when you say that. Yeah. But yeah, we've had a year. We've had quite a year. Some ups, some downs, some more ups, and then some more downs. And then some more ups.
So it sounds like we had a good balance this year. That's what it sounds like. We have had some trying times this year, which I know a lot of people have, but we've had our own personal tryings this year. But even with all of that, we have some great things that we're doing now that has came out of or in the midst of everything else that's happening, and I think I would love for people to really understand and recognize our journey. So far, I've been on this season 3 since you're on.
Tell me, me.
I've been kind of talking about this context of let's build.
Okay.
And I think it's such a great compliment to what we've been doing, I would say.
Yeah.
Over the years, which has been some years, we've been building. You know, some of it has been quietly, you know, kind of like in the backgrounds or whatever, but we've been doing stuff. And so I kind of wanted to have a conversation to really help people or let people see or kind of get into that combo of what we've been building.
What we've been building. About 2 years ago, you and I started having conversations about business. We started a business actually back in 2016.
Yeah.
But it was in a different direction.
Yeah.
And we knew that even though we were starting there, we wanted to be able to eventually branch out and do some other things. So we set our business up purposely in a way that we could have different facets or legs of one business. So about 2 years ago, we started having conversations about starting a clothing business. And we talked about it and we talked about it and we meditated on it, but we didn't really do anything with it. We just kind of mulled it over in our head. And then it wasn't until 2019 that we really started actually doing some real research and finding out, okay, what is it going to take to actually bring this vision to life? And so we did the research, we made some phone calls, we got connected with some people, and we started the ball rolling.
Yeah.
And we've been rolling ever since. Until good old 2020. We were set to launch in March, actually, around our anniversary.
Yep.
We were going to be launching, and Corona came. And when Corona came, a few other things came. Well, I mean, I feel like, you know, we kind of private people.
Yes.
We don't really share too much of our personal lives. And I think that has been one of the things that has kept us in this season. But I do think that it's important to have a level of transparency when you go through challenges and tests and trials, because people are watching you.
Yeah.
And people know that there's no such thing as a perfect scenario, perfect relationship, perfect marriage, a perfect story. So when people try to come off as they're perfect, it comes across as inauthentic.
Yeah.
So I do feel like there's certain things that we should share for the purpose of being a blessing and a positive influence to other people. So with that being said, we had a situation, and we won't go too much into it just because we can't, but just to make a long story very, very, very short, we acquired two additional children, in addition to the Roche boys, and they came to us at the end of March or the beginning of April.
It was the top of April.
The beginning of April. We were right in the midst of preparing for the launch, and then we had to put that on hold because when Corona happened, the warehouse that houses our inventory and that ships some of our products, they closed down. So we had to put everything on halt. At the same time we were putting that on halt, some children were coming into our homes and our lives. If someone had told me a year ago that I would go from 2 children to 4 children all at the same time, like big kids, I would have probably laughed them out of the room.
Yeah.
Nah. We definitely did not see that coming.
We didn't see that coming.
We didn't see that coming.
No,
and it was a very challenging situation, to say the least, but a blessing nonetheless.
Yeah.
Because during that time we learned so much about ourselves. We learned that we was not all that we thought we were. And it took us a minute to actually get to a point where we saw it as a blessing. When I tell you the struggle was real and I was on that struggle bus, I literally cried every single day for 2 months. Every day. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, you didn't cry every day. Like, you didn't cry on Saturday. Yes, I cried on Saturdays. I cried on Sundays after church. I cried every single day for 2 months. And during that time frame, it just kind of felt like I was in a mode of me. Like, why me? Why is this happening to me? Why do I have to be the one that has to step in and help? Why can't someone else do it? Like, the timing is bad.
Right.
It was just a very selfish mode and mentality to be in. And once I realized where I was, I knew that I had to get out of that. I had to really purpose in my heart to find a reason to look at it as, okay, what can I learn from this? What is God trying to teach me in this time frame?
Yeah.
So once we got to that point, it became a little bit easier for us.
It was a difficult season.
Yeah.
One, I think because, not just because we wasn't expecting it, but because I think it's a difference when you are dealing with people and you get to leave them where they are versus now you have somebody that's with you, that's sitting in your home.
Right. 24/7.
24/7.
You can't leave them.
Right. You don't get that break of,
no break.
And so it was a struggle. It was difficult for us. It was difficult for our kids.
Yes.
And so we got to see, I believe in those moments, it was a lot of stuff that was revealed to us, about our kids, that we, it was just in general about our house. And, but again, in the moment, I didn't like it.
But, I think people need to hear that. I think people really need to hear that it was hard.
Yeah.
And we didn't like it.
No, we didn't.
Because the Christian thing would be to say, it's hard, but, the Lord was my strength, and, I purposed in my heart that I was gonna, overcome, and, all that is good. And so many people encouraged us during that time frame, the people who knew about it, hang in there and God's gonna reward you. I didn't want to hear that. I'm like, I'm good. I don't need no more rewards. I don't want it. You can have it. Yeah. But, I think it's important for people to hear that, no, that wasn't our story. Our story was we was kicking and screaming for a long time, but God did not move until we yielded.
Right. Initially, my mindset was, okay, this is probably going to be for,
couple weeks,
about a month or two, and then we'll be back to. It was like, no, we're going to give you 6 months. Wow.
6 months.
The lockdown of COVID is here. Wow. Kids can't go into a school, and now y'all got to figure out how to do homeschool. We couldn't stop life just because of this situation. So it was difficult, but now I'm grateful for it because I realized a lot about myself.
Yeah.
Things that I thought was my strength, was revealed that, nah, partner, you ain't really strong in that area.
Yeah.
We just needed to strengthen up. And on the other side, it wasn't about us.
Right.
This was an experience that they needed just like we needed. And it was that corresponding piece that we were able to see in those moments of not just, okay, where are you? But no, how are you affecting them? How are you affecting them in this moment that you have, in this time frame that you have? How did we impact them
right
in this moment?
It needed to happen
right
in order for us to enter into this new season.
Yeah.
We had to go through that.
If we did not go through that, we may not have really been ready for this.
Okay, so like we said, we were preparing in 2019, but the business was it was a clothing business, but we were headed in a different direction.
Yeah, we was.
And then when 2020 happened and we had the situation that we found ourselves, what God put us in, I felt like he was redirecting us.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I say that is because I remember one of those days that I was crying. Yes, one of those days that I was crying. I was doing my devotion and it came out of Matthew 5:13, where it says, "You are the salt of the earth." And then 14 goes on to say, you are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden.
Yeah.
And when I read it, immediately, I felt the shift that had taken place. And it was like, okay, this is where I want you to take the business. And I started to think about all the things that we were going through, because we were like knee deep in the midst of it. And I was like, okay, this is why we had to go through what we had to go through. Because if you're the salt, you need to show me that you're the salt.
Right.
You have all these people in your house every week, every day seemed like we had different people in our house. Yes. And we had to be monitored, and we had to go to therapy, just a whole lot of different things that we had to do that was way out of our comfort zone. And it was like God was saying to us, how are you going to handle this? Are you going to be the salt? Yeah. Because these people don't know me. The only way that they're going to be able to know me is through the remnants of what you display. Yeah. So what are you going to display? You know, we were in court, and it was just a lot of things. It was a whole lot of stuff. Yeah. And so I knew then in that moment, okay, if I am the salt, I have to be the salt. Yeah. And I have to prove it first before I can tell someone else that you are the salt. It has to be proven in me.
Yeah. What is, because we both know this, the struggles, not per se of what we went through, but now trying to actually create, launch, put out, the struggles that came in the midst of this part of it.
At the end of 2019, we are 75% of the way ready to launch. 2020, the beginning of 2020, we're like 85% ready. And then God just flips the whole thing. Yeah. And changes the business model. I mean, he changed the name, he changed the business model, he changed everything. Yeah. So even though we were in the planning stages, it was almost like starting over again. Yeah. But it was hyper speed. There's this particular vendor that I really wanted to work with. And it's not like it's a household name that everybody would know, but if you're even a little bit into clothes and quality, I can almost guarantee you have something of theirs in your wardrobe. You just don't know it because so many companies private label. And so they put their name on it and you don't know, but you're actually wearing this other vendor. So online, everywhere, it's out of stock. It's sold out of stock. So I found a wholesaler, local, when I say local, in the state of Texas, and they had the vendor and they had it in stock. And I was like, we have to go there and we have to get this stuff. Like we have to go there. And you were like, no, let's just order it over the phone. And I was like, because if we call them, they're going to say they don't have it. We got to go. So I called the people, found out what time they closed. It closed at 4:30. So as soon as you got off work, we shot down the road, got there at like 4:15. And I was like, I got 15 minutes to make it happen. Go in the place, and the lady is like, we're closed. And I was like, no, there must be some sort of misunderstanding. Because I called, and the lady said you didn't close until 4:30. Right. And she's like, well, no, today we close at 4. And I was like, ma'am, I already know exactly what I want. I have the quantities. I have the money. If you just give me 5 minutes, I know. She's like, no. She wouldn't even let me finish. She was like, no, we're closed. There's nothing I can do for you. Yeah. There's nothing you can do for me. I came all this way. There's nothing I can do for you. And she closed the door and locked it right in my face. And so when we got back in the car, everything within me wanted to be in my feelings. And what did the preacher say? I call him the preacher sometimes. The preacher's like, oh, don't worry about it. There'll be other vendors. What God has for us is for us. And, he's going through his whole sermon. And I am not here for none of it, okay? I'm not here for any of it. So he's like, let's just go get something to eat. Let's take the kids out. Let's just enjoy the day. Let's just go hang out. So while he's enjoying the day, looking for something to eat, I'm online on my phone looking up this company. I'm like, there's no, me being in my feelings is not going to get the job done.
Right.
I have to get the job done. So I looked up the company, did some research, found an old press release from the company, found one of the executive names and email addresses, and I emailed him. Gave him a little bit of backstory about us, who we were, and what I was trying to accomplish. And I'm like, I just need 10 minutes of your time. Just give me a 10-minute phone call. The next day, the man emails me back. Now, I'm shook because I'm like, I did it purely on adrenaline.
Right.
Not really thinking that the man was going to email me back. Right. He emails me back. He sends me a Zoom link and says, get on the Zoom at 12 o'clock. And I'm like, I am shaking in my boots. I'm like, why do we have to Zoom? Like, why do you have to see me be nervous? But I get on the Zoom. I'm talking about my knees was knocking. What started out as a 10-minute ask turned into like a 40-minute conversation.
Wow.
Like, he literally just gave me so much value in that 40 minutes. Told me his history, his story about how he got started. He didn't even really want to be in the industry on the side that he was on. He wanted to be more in the field. He didn't want to be an executive. But he's like, now nothing can keep me from what I'm doing. It's what I was meant to do. He gave me his direct contact phone number, gave me some do's and don'ts for starting the business. Even offered me some samples. It was like, if you want, I can send you some samples. And I was just on cloud nine. I was so much on cloud nine. When that man asked me, do I want him to send me some samples? I'm like, no. Your time is valuable enough. You've done enough. And we're going to pay for everything. And, I just don't want anything. Rookie mistake. It was a rookie mistake. I will never do that again. I have spent so much money. For those of you who are watching, if the vendor offers you a sample, take the sample. I said no to the sample. I will never say no to the sample again. But had that situation with the young lady, had that not happened to me, I would have never had the adrenaline rush and push to try to reach out and contact that gentleman. So what the devil meant to distract me or deter me from what we were supposed to do, it became the ultimate plug. And for that young lady, if she ever watches this, that beautiful young lady that closed that door in my face and locked it, I just want to say many thanks. Okay? It's not for the faint of heart.
Right.
It's not for the faint of heart. And you do have to have a coin. I mean, we Shamgar and we used what we had and we started where we were and we did the best we could. But we didn't do it for free. But when you're doing what God told you to do, it doesn't matter how hard it is. It doesn't matter who doesn't support you, because everybody's not going to support you. And it's not a diss to them. Everybody doesn't have the vision. God didn't give it to them. He gave it to you. So what feels like a lack of support may be just a lack of understanding. Like, what is this? He started off singing, and then he started doing a podcast, and now he's doing clothes. Like, what's happening here? Who is this masked man? Where did this lady come from? She's spent her whole life on YouTube, and now all of a sudden she's selling clothes. Like, what is this? And sometimes when God give you a vision, you got to keep your mouth closed. You can't go running telling everybody, this is what God told me, because some people don't have the vision, and then some people just don't support the vision. And when you start getting all these different voices, you start to get confused. And then it's like, well, is this what God said, or is this what I want? This last, I think, month, maybe month and a half, God told me, get off social media. I had to just get all the way off. And I had to purge myself from it completely and just do a total fast because I didn't want anything clouding what he was giving me to produce in terms of designs, in terms of a business model, in terms of the vision, in terms of the website. I just needed to strictly focus on what he was saying versus what I was, the other noise that I was hearing. Some people could look at that as, oh, you just disappeared.
Right.
You just disappeared off the face of the earth, and then you come back and you want to sell me some clothes. Like, what is you doing? No, I'm being obedient to God, honey.
Right.
This is what obedience look like. Sometimes you got to zip it, until it's time for you to reveal it. Sometimes you got to just turn your station to KYMS.
For me, the thought that goes to my mind is thinking about, is it more so that they might not support it, or like how you were saying, they cannot see it? And I think sometimes what is difficult sometimes for people is to be able to see you change.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I known you, or I know you this specific way. And so I've been used to seeing you in this pattern or whatever that might be. But now you're evolving, you're changing, you're growing or developing. But I haven't changed my perspective of who you are, or I can't see what you're seeing no more because I'm not changing with your change. And so for whoever's listening, and you might be in a scenario like that, where it's like, I got these dreams, I got these passions, I got this X, Y, and Z, whatever those things might be for you. And it's like, but this person don't agree with me no more, or my friends used to be with me and now they don't, whatever that thing is. My mentor helped me with this in reference to, you have to understand that there are going to be some roads that you will have to travel alone. And it's not a bad thing. It's not that people are forsaking you or that people are not whatever. It's like, no, there are certain things that you're going to have to walk this thing out by yourself.
Yeah.
I want people to kind of get to know what actually is the SALT Society. We're talking about it. We had told them about the inspiration. We had told them about the struggle. We had told them that we had created it. But I know that there's probably people on here like, okay, but what the heck is it?
It's definitely going to be a multifaceted brand. We're starting with clothing. Okay. And even with the clothing, it's the best way I can describe it is like a two-sided coin. So on one side you have the SALT, which is going to be the athletic wear, athleisure wear, your sweatpants, your t-shirts, your joggers, your hats, your hoodies, a lot of inspirational pieces, like inspirational quotes and different things like that. And then the society side, the other side of the coin, is going to be a little bit more elevated. Still some casual wear. Still some casual wear for now. We're going to eventually go into business casual, but still casual wear, but just a little bit more elevated in terms of the materials and different things like that. The vendors that we use will be totally different. We will house the inventory here at our home. So because the SALT is going to be a broader part of the business, our inventory is actually housed at a warehouse, which is at another location. So we won't actually produce the t-shirts and the sweatshirts, the designs on them ourselves. Now we created them. I created them. You created them. They belong to us, but we're not going to actually print the stuff. So everything is printed and shipped from a separate location. Right. Whereas the society side, it's going to be much smaller orders, much smaller inventory, and then more elevated casual wear. Yeah. That's the best way I can describe it.
I think it's going to be great. I know the idea when we talked about it was to be able to kind of be able to reach different levels of people. I
Right.
can say it that way.
Right.
You know, the person that loves to wear, you know, some sweats or some blue jeans with their J's,
Right.
you know, nice t-shirt, you know, type atmosphere, but also the person that loves to wear a button down.
Right.
You know, or you know, the lady that loves to wear a nice, you know, nice sweater or a nice shirt or whatever. It's like we wanted to make sure that we are reaching or impacting all levels of people, no matter who you are, no matter what your walk is. Our church have a mask, and on it just says, it's simple, but it just says it's all about Him.
Right.
I was wearing it one day going into the gas station, going to get some gas, paying for it, and it was a police officer standing at the cash register. And he looks at the mask and he was like, "Man, it's a good saying."
Wow.
And so then
Look at
then now we're having a
Right.
conversation.
That was
but
your point of
that
entry.
was my point of entry, all because of an inspirational word that was across my face. This is not a selfish context. You know, the dreams or the aspirations that we have, yes, we want to fulfill them and we want to walk in them. But at the end of the day, it's like, it's not for us.
Right.
It's for somebody.
Yeah.
It's for you, even if you don't purchase it. Our contribution to somebody's life might be just to inspire you, just to show you, hey, look, you can do it. And we wanted also people to feel good,
Feel
look
good and look good. Yeah,
and, you
definitely.
know, and those things. So
You know, we love to look good.
yes,
People,
now-
especially our generation,
Right.
we love to look good. You know, when you look good, you get your hair done, fresh cut, you feel good.
yeah, you feel
So
real good
what
about
better
yourself.
way than to use our clothing
Yeah.
as a platform to reach the world with the gospel? It's a different way, but it's an impactful way.
Right. We know that this is a beginning place or launching pad of many, many more things that we want to be able to do to help people out.
Absolutely. This is just
So
the beginning.
This is just the beginning. So the Salt Society is, you know, is going to be, I would say, a nice tree with many branches.
Yes. Many, many branches.
You know, many branches, but all of those things are going to be tools of ways that we can be able to help people, encourage people, and all of those different things. We're both a little nervous.
A little bit.
You know, we're both a little nervous.
We've been waking up at what time?
Jeez, 4 o'clock every morning.
3:30, between 3:30 and 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
And when
it's-
God doesn't hit you,
It hits
He
her,
hits me.
and we've been bouncing back and forth.
It's an exciting time.
It is
for sure.
You know, it's
an exciting
and the
time.
nervousness, for those that are listening, the nervousness is not. We're not. Well, for me, I'm not nervous. Like, is this gonna work? You know, more so than, okay, this is new.
This is something that I've been thinking about and dreaming about and envisioning and thinking about it, dreaming about and envisioning for so long, even before we talked about it.
Yeah.
It's always been a dream of mine for us to be at the door of it. It's like it was a dream until it wasn't.
Right.
It was a dream until it was reality.
As your husband, this is probably one of the most exciting moments for me. I remember when we were still in the apartment and, you know, are still back living like in the duplex time frame and talking about moments of where you wanted to have your own clothing line, even way back then. And so now to be able to see you walking into your dream is exciting. It's mind-blowing. It's just breathtaking, I would say, than that for me as your husband.
I feel like there could be somebody watching us or listening to us that could be feeling a little bit discouraged. They may feel like, well, you know, I had the idea to start a clothing line. I've always wanted to do that too. I wanted to do inspirational t-shirts and sweatshirts, but you know, now they're doing it. So I feel like I can't do it. You know, I don't want anybody to feel like I'm trying to compete with them. Not so. Start that business. Don't wait. Can you imagine if there was only one clothing store available for the whole world?
Right.
Like, that makes no sense.
Right.
That makes
doesn't.
absolutely no sense. There's a niche for me. There's a niche for you. There's a niche for the person across the street. It may happen, just so happen that my niche is similar to your niche, but my audience may be different than your audience.
Right.
So it's never a competition.
Yeah.
When it's kingdom business.
Right.
Now, if it's about the Benjamins, then yeah, people can feel like, well, you're competing against me, or you're trying to step into my lane. But when it's about the kingdom, there is no competition.
Right.
All of us is on the same team.
Right.
So when you win, I win. When I win, you win.
So what I would say as we per se come to a close in this conversation, this will not be the last time that you will see my beautiful wife on the screen.
He's inviting me back, y'all.
For all those that are listening, all those that are watching, make sure that you step out and walk in your dream. Yes, we do want you to support what God, this new journey that we're on. For those that will be on the Facebook and watching this live, those that will also be listening through the podcast, we'll have the link and the information below. For those that are listening, you driving in your car or taking a walk, just always think thesaltsociety.co. C-O. Thesaltsociety.co. Thank you all for watching. Again, honey, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And we love you all. And we will see you right here on the Focus on Greatness podcast every first and third Monday at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. We thank you for being a part of the Greatness family, and we will talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.